This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
It's the Noon Report from Family Life, bringing a Christian worldview to what's happening in New York, Pennsylvania, across the country, and around the world. Weather with Kevin Williams, plus special features and reports with the Family Life News team. Now, here's what's happening.
Incomprehensible devastation. Good afternoon. Welcome to the broadcast.
This is it's unbelievable. And Texas is grieving the pain our state is feeling. There are not words to describe it.
Texas Senator Ted Cruz, as the search for survivors continues today in the Texas Hill Country north of San Antonio. That area was pulverized by cataclysmic flooding over the 4th of July weekend.
The unknown is what's killing people.
It would bring me some closure knowing definitively what happened instead of continuously holding out, wondering if the one I love is still out there.
One of the hardest hit areas, Camp Mystic, a Christian girls' camp along the Guadalupe River. It saw 26 feet of water in just 45 minutes.
It was shocking to see. There's cars and trees. It's hard to believe just how violent the water is. I've seen floods before. I've never seen anything quite like this.
President Trump plans to visit that area later this week.
This was the thing that happened in seconds. Nobody expected it. Nobody saw it. It's, I guess they said, once in 100 years. They've never seen anything like this.
Dozens are dead. Dozens more remain missing, including 10 campers and a counselor at that Christian girls' camp. Texas Congressman Joaquin Castro.
The priority is on making sure that those girls are found and are saved, and anybody else who may be missing at this point. And then I think after that, we have to figure out in the future how we make sure that it doesn't happen again.
CBS's Janet Shamlian has more on the victims.
8-year-old camper Linny McCown of Austin died in the storm, her father confirmed, as did 18-year-old Chloe Childress, a counselor from the Houston area who had just graduated high school, and Camp Mystic's longtime owner, 74-year-old Dick Eastland.
Thank God my granddaughters are okay.
Georgia Congressman Buddy Carter said his 2 grandchildren survived, but their cousin, 9-year-old Janie Hunt, died. She's related to Kansas City Chiefs owner Clark Hunt.
God has wrapped his arms around her, in our thoughts and prayers with all of those involved.
Texas Pastor Robert Jeffress shares a message of hope amid the tragedy.
Faith means something when it's exercised in the darkness. And right now there are hundreds of families here in Central Texas that are exercising faith in the darkness. They don't understand why, but they believe in a God who will one day, not immediately, but eventually he will make all things right.
That's Pastor Robert Jeffress with the First Baptist Church of Dallas speaking to Fox News earlier today. In other news today, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visits the White House for peace talks with President Trump. The world leaders are trying to find a way to wind down the war in Gaza. Jared Halpern has the latest.
For the first time since U.S. airstrikes on Iran's nuclear facilities and an end to a 2-week war between Israel and Iran, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will meet face-to-face with President Trump. The Israeli leader is expected at the White House today. President Trump and U.S. negotiators are hopeful they can secure a 60-day ceasefire in Gaza, a deal that officials say would require Hamas to release at least 10 living hostages and the bodies of 18 dead hostages.
Victoria Coates is a Mideast scholar at the Heritage Foundation.
And the fact that we still have hostages 600 plus days into this crisis, I mean, it's unconscionable. And so I think the president rightly has been pushing for their release. He's gotten so many of them out. We've got to get the rest of them out. And then we can talk about what's next for Gaza. But that's really got to be the bottom line here.
Coach says Hamas has no more cards to play here. The terror group has lost control of 80% of the Gaza Strip since it invaded Israel 2 years ago. Tariff letters are being sent today to some of our top trading partners. It's all an effort to get about a dozen nations to make new trade deals with us. White House correspondent Nancy Cordes.
The president saying about 12 to 15 letters are going to go out to countries beginning today, putting them on notice that if they don't start to finalize their deals with the United States, they are going to be hit with much higher tariffs starting in just 3 weeks. What he's warning them is that the rates would boomerang back to what he announced in the Rose Garden back in April, rates as high as 40 or 50%. 10%.
Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says he expects to see big news when it comes to trade deals with other countries. President Trump yesterday called Elon Musk's vow to launch a new political party ridiculous. On X, Musk wrote that his America Party will give people their freedom back. Musk broke ranks with Mr. Trump over that big new spending bill signed into law on the 4th of July. Republicans are celebrating passage of the spending package, dubbed the Big Beautiful Bill. House Speaker Mike Johnson calls it a step up for everyday Americans.
The average American, the typical American household, will have $13,000 more in take-home pay. This is a great thing for people who go to work every day. They're going to feel that.
But former Treasury Secretary Larry Summers is singing an altogether different tune.
There is no economist anywhere without a strong political agenda who is saying that this bill is a positive for the economy.
House Speaker Johnson says the tax cuts included in the spending package will act as, quote, jet fuel for the U.S. economy. Still to come on the Noon Report for a Monday. Firefighters deliver twins. Beware the hogweed and going nuclear in New York.
Good afternoon. I'm Kevin Williams. A warm, humid day underway across the region. We'll be tracking a couple of locally hefty thunderstorms and showers into tonight. I'll have forecast details coming up in 10.
All right, Kevin, we'll see you then. Let's check the stories making news where you live. All across New York and Pennsylvania, multiple water rescues carried out all over the Family Life listening area over the 4th of July holiday, many in central Pennsylvania. First responders in Hershey saved 9 tubers on the Swatara River.
There were people transported to local medical facilities for further evaluation.
That's Kenny Whitebread. He's fire chief for the Middletown Fire Department, and he has the following recommendation for anybody who's taking part in water sports.
Make sure that they have proper flotation devices as far as life jackets and have respect for the water. Be aware of your surroundings and make sure you're not putting yourself in danger that could further put us in danger.
Firefighters also rescued a family of 5 near Hummelstown, but thanks to quick action from first responders, everybody made it back to shore safely. 2 firefighters with the Medina, New York Fire Department helped deliver a set of twins on the 4th of July. First responders, Adam Fisher and Paul Urquhart, delivered those babies while en route to the hospital in Batavia. The first delivery, a baby boy, happened in Orleans County. Then 7 minutes later, a baby girl was born in Genesee County. Both the twins and their mom doing just fine today. Demand for energy in New York and Pennsylvania is at a 30-year high. Energy expert Todd Snitchler tells Spectrum News that the electrification of the economy is a big reason for this. He suggests common sense solutions to keep your energy bills from skyrocketing this summer.
Look at weatherization of their homes. So it makes them more efficient in the summer to keep the cold in and the heat out, and the reverse in the winter when you want to keep your home warm and keep the cold out.
Snitchler says the higher electric bills that you're paying right now is a direct result of more spending on infrastructure for the transmission and the distribution of electricity. New York Governor Kathy Hochul wants to build a new nuclear energy plant to help meet the energy needs of the Empire State. Nuclear expert Antoinette Maniotti is all for that.
Solar and wind are also very important, but they are not continuous. There are times when the sun is not shining, there are times when the wind is not blowing, and so they tend to oscillate. There's fluctuations in the level of energy produced, whereas with nuclear energy, it's very continuous, and you can bring it in and pull it out as you need it.
It has been 36 years since a nuclear power plant has been constructed in New York. A Tonawanda, New York man suffered severe injuries from playing with fireworks at a home in Niagara County over the 4th of July. Police say the victim suffered wounds to his chest and stomach. Medical crews applied a tourniquet to his arm before transporting him to the hospital. As the 25th anniversary of 9/11 approaches, a Somerset County, Pennsylvania memorial is preparing for a new chapter of remembrance and renewal. Here's Family Life's Brian Query.
The Friends of Flight 93 National Memorial has launched a fundraising campaign to support upgrades at the Shanksville site where United Flight 93 crashed on September 11th, 2001. The group hopes to raise $300,000 to $500,000 for projects including replanting the 40-tree Memorial Grove, enhancing 9/11 education, and promoting environmental stewardship. A $50,000 grant from the National Park Foundation will jumpstart the effort, and organizers say preserving the story of Flight 93 for future generations is more important than ever. Information on their work is available at flight93friends.org. Brian Query, Family Life News.
Thank you, Brian. The village of Lancaster in western New York is warning folks to stay away from some giant hogweed that's sprouting up in Como Park near the Buffalo River. Hogweed can cause severe skin irritations. It is a huge plant that can sometimes grow to heights of 14 feet. The state DEC has been notified. An area flight school is helping students soar to new heights. Niagara Falls-based Falcon Aviation has just earned its FAA certification.
It helps us to have partnerships with the military, and right across the airport here is the Niagara Falls Air Reserve Base. Veterans can utilize their GI Bill to the full extent for flight training.
Co-owner and Air Force veteran Norm Utek telling WIVB.
In 2021, 3 friends, we got together, all of us with a passion for aviation. 2 of us were flight instructors already. We are high school teachers. One of our former students came to us for flight instruction, and before we knew it, we said, why are we not running our own flight school?
And now they are. Falcon Aviation working with local high school and college students who are interested in careers in aviation. The train is finally leaving the station in Scranton, Pennsylvania. This weekend saw the return of the Bullard No. 2 steam engine at the Steamtown National Historic Site after a 9-year restoration project. Steamtown Superintendent Jeremy Comaz telling WBRE.
I think that what the Bullard represents is a renewed sense of effort and energy here at Steamtown National Historic Site for our restorations and our preserving of railroading history.
Up next for Steamtown's ongoing restoration effort is revamping 3 historic passenger trains. Sports next. It's the 2-minute drill for Monday on Family Life.
Good afternoon, I'm Randy Snavely. Bob, the Yankees salvaged their series finale against the Mets with a 6-4 victory. The Yankees held a 5-0 lead on the strength of home runs from Aaron Judge and Austin Wells. Then they turned 3 double plays in 3 consecutive innings to help win this ball game and end their 6-game losing streak. Zach Wheeler, stellar on the hill for the Phillies. He tossed a complete game against the Reds, struck out 12, only gave up 1 run. Bryson Stott broke a 1-1 tie with a 2-run shot in the 8th. Paul Skeens struck out 10 over 5 innings, but the Pirates' offense was non-existent. They lost the game 1-0. The Bucks swept in the 3-game series. Let's talk basketball. History made in the NBA over the weekend. A 7-team trade took place involving the Rockets, Hawks, Nets, Warriors, Lakers, T-Wolves, and Suns. The biggest name in the trade, Kevin Durant, he is going to Houston. In NASCAR, Shane Van Gisbergen took home the checkered flag in the street race at Chicago. Ty Gibbs, Tyler Reddick, Denny Hamlin, and Kyle Busch rounded out the top 5. Across the pond, week 1 of the Wimbledon Championships is in the books. Number 5 American Taylor Fritz is into the quarterfinals on the men's side, and 13th-seeded American Amanda Anisimova has also advanced. And in soccer, the U.S. men lost in the Gold Cup finals to Mexico 2-1. That is a look at sports.
All right, Randy, man, good job with those tennis names. And still to come on the Noon Report, a century-old ministry making a difference in Rome, New York. We'll take you there. Also ahead, Texas-sized catastrophe, the latest on that historic flooding in the Texas Hill Country. And at the end of the broadcast, skip the gym, why dad bods are in.
Welcome to Breakpoint, a daily look at an ever-changing culture through the lens of unchanging truth. For the Colson Center, I'm Shane Morris. There's a famous story about how the Times of London once put out a query. What's wrong with the world today? G.K. Chesterton wrote back simply, Dear Sir, I am. It's always worth reflecting on his answer and his very scriptural awareness that human sin is at the root of the world's problems. It's especially worthwhile at a time when so much of what's wrong with the world is being blamed on non-human artificial intelligence. Alongside those who think AI will save the world and revolutionize everything are a growing number who think it will destroy the world, or at least come close. In a recent episode of Ross Douthat's Interesting Times podcast, former OpenAI researcher Daniel Cocotillo warned that artificial intelligence will become an existential threat to humanity within 2 years. While we await his apocalypse, the damage AI is doing to education by making cheating normal has become the stuff of regular headlines. AI is destroying a generation of students, declared the tech news website Futurism. And thanks to AI, everyone is cheating their way through college, warned New York Magazine. But as much as AI's potential can cause harm, blaming it alone misses the point and likely makes these problems worse. Humans are the fallen ones, and that fallenness manifests in all kinds of destructive ways. Consider the growing number of people using popular chatbots like ChatGPT who are being led into spiritual delusions and psychosis. Rolling Stone told the chilling stories of how spouses and parents have watched their loved ones lose touch with reality while conversing with AI. What all of these stories have in common is how the users anthropomorphized AI. They asked it deep questions, sought spiritual advice, or turned to it for friendship or love, taking its apparently meaningful responses seriously. But they're not meaningful. Not in the sense human communication is meaningful. That fact has been obscured by the hype and marketing around AI and ignored by those whose worldviews commit them to seeing humans, ourselves, as mere biological computers. But there is mounting evidence that what AI chatbots are doing is fundamentally not thinking, not as humans do it. A groundbreaking new study from Apple entitled The Illusion of Thinking showed this by subjecting AI models to various challenges designed to test for reasoning ability. Using logic puzzles of increasing complexity, the researchers found that even today's most advanced AIs didn't understand or solve problems, but merely pattern matched. Even the most advanced models couldn't comprehend the task. As Cornelia Walther wrote at Forbes, quote, "This suggests that the models weren't actually reasoning at all. They were following learned patterns that broke down when confronted with novel challenges. They don't think. They generate statistically probable responses based on massive data sets, creating what researchers now recognize as an elaborate illusion of intelligence." All of this reinforces the simple truth society should have known all along, including those either terrified of AI or falling in love with its chatbots. They're not made in the image of God. They are, as it turns out, not even really made in the image of humans. They're more like mirrors, reflecting our sins and fantasies while comprehending nothing. Whatever the future of AI holds, and no matter what genuine dangers this technology poses, one thing it will never be by itself is good or evil. Chesterton was right. We remain the problem with the world. Recognizing that is a big part of thinking clearly about AI and all of our creations. For the Colson Center, I'm Shane Morris.
All right, Shane, thank you very much. Let's take it outside next. Weatherman Kevin Williams.
Here is your family life forecast for this afternoon. Very warm and humid, clouds and some sunshine. A couple of showers and thunderstorms will be in the area this afternoon into tonight. High today, 80s to near 90. Lows tonight in the 60s. Tomorrow, not as warm, turning a bit less humid. Clouds will give way to some sun. Still a couple of showers and rumbles across parts of central and eastern Pennsylvania. High temperatures, 70s across New York, 80s in Pennsylvania. And some sunshine Wednesday, high temperatures in the low to mid 80s.
All right, Kev, thank you very much. This is the Noon Report on Family Life. I'm your host, Bob Price, and here's what's happening Monday, the 7th of July. Dozens are dead, dozens more missing as the search intensifies for survivors from catastrophic flooding in central Texas.
We're looking for places that they're going to potentially be alive. We're still hoping for the best, but that's all we can do in that and pray.
The Guadalupe River north of San Antonio rose 26 feet in just 45 minutes over the 4th of July weekend, inundating a Christian girls' camp there.
The community is just struggling to wrap their head around what has happened here over the past few days.
This young girl explains what she did when torrents of water came crashing down on that camp for 3rd and 4th graders.
I put on my name tag because I was scared that if water's coming out next to our other cabins, that our cabin might be next. And I just put it on just for safekeeping, saying in my head I was saying, if something does happen and I do get swept away, at least I'll have my name on my body.
Correspondent Janet Chamblia.
No one is calling this a recovery mission at this time. They're still calling it a rescue mission, but after 3 days, despite people hoping for a miracle, of course, the odds are that there will be none.
The director of that camp, Camp Mystic, died while trying to assist other campers. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visits the White House today for peace talks with President Trump. The world leaders trying to broker an end to the war in Gaza, a war that's claimed over 50,000 lives ever since Hamas invaded Israel 2 years ago.
The president has more leverage over Mr. Netanyahu as a consequence of the role American forces played in striking 3 key Iranian nuclear facilities. But finally, I think Hamas understands they need a break.
Mideast scholar Aaron David Miller, Vicky Coates with the Heritage Foundation, says Hamas has been weakened since invading Israel.
They're pretty much out of cards, and there's reporting come in over the weekend that they've lost control of about 80% of the Gaza Strip. So Hamas has less and less with which they can deal.
Today's visit to the White House is Netanyahu's third since President Trump began his second term. The White House says it is close to finalizing new trade deals with over a dozen countries.
The White House will be sending letters to American trading partners dictating new tariff rates. The president told reporters on Sunday that between 12 and 15 letters will be sent out, including some deals. The previously announced 90-day tariff pause is expiring on July 9th, but the president said he thinks most trading partners will have a letter or a deal by that deadline.
CBS's Paulina Smolinski. President Trump is blasting Elon Musk's decision to form a new political party.
Trump slammed the idea, saying it's always been a two-party system.
I think it's ridiculous to start a third party. We have a tremendous success with the Republican Party. The Democrats have lost their way, but it's always been a two-party system.
He added he felt it only adds confusion and that third parties have never worked. The tech billionaire announced the America Party on X Saturday, claiming when it comes to bankrupting our country with waste and graft, we live in a one-party system, not a democracy. Musk was a vocal critic of Trump's big, beautiful bill, which was signed into law Friday. I'm Mark Mayfield.
A new study finds eating eggs is good for you. That study followed 20,000 adults and discovered those who ate at least 1.5 eggs a day had stronger bones than those who did not. You're tuned in to the Noon Report for a Monday on Family Life. This is Missions Pulse on Family Life. Mondays during the Noon Report, we spotlight ministries that are making a difference where you live across the country and around the world. This week, we're spotlighting the Delta Lake Christian Conference Center in Rome, New York. Steve Clark is the camp director. 101 years of ministry. Steve, 1924, I believe, is the year when the first tent meetings happened there in Rome, New York. Got to ask you, not a lot of ministries have that kind of staying power. To what do you attribute Delta Lake's longevity?
A lot of family connections, people who have history that maintain and nurture that history, people who have come, who've had life-changing experiences, and that becomes the pattern of ongoing in their family tradition, if you will. But it's also a case of new generations coming in to experience what it means to encounter Christ in a off-the-way place. By that I mean out of the normal context of home life, coming to a spot that is away from the hustle and bustle of life, giving you an opportunity to just develop a fresh sense of the presence of God in an outdoor context where people can be friendly and gracious and hospitable to one another.
Yeah. When I was working as a camp counselor at Delta, we used to sleep in the Army surplus tent that existed. Now people have these $100,000 RVs. So things have changed a lot when it comes to camping. But I got to ask you, is Christian camping as big a deal today as it was 25, 50 years ago? Talk about how you have had to get creative as far as a camp director in keeping camping alive and well in our culture today.
For us, family camp is a 1 week experience out of the summer. We have youth camps that go for about 6 weeks and guest groups that take up much of the year's calendar. We take a break only for a few weeks at holiday times, but otherwise we are on a full tilt year-round schedule of ministry. So for us, camping is a 12-month-a-year opportunity. Now, you asked the question about RVs. Yes, we see a prevalence of them today. The bigger ones more than the small pop-ups or tent campers that were more prevalent, let's say, 25 to 50 years ago. So now we're into fifth wheels and that kind of thing. So it's more the size and the amenities of what camping brings is what we're experiencing today.
Yeah.
Does that mean there's less? No. It's just a different style. People want accommodations that are a little more upscale. The days of rustic Army surplus tents are pretty much gone.
Okay.
You're showing your age when you mention that, Bob.
To me, that's camping, though. That's real
I understand.
camping.
But today, and that may be why the names begin to change, people are looking for more of a ministry experience that broadens or deepens them on a spiritual level and connects them with others and friends and people that they will get to know. So when we talk about a 12-month-a-year experience, that means we've got to have accommodations that can weather the winter and provide air conditioning in the summer. Very different from the summer tenting experience. Can't do much in tents in the wintertime when you have feet and feet of snow.
And if you've ever been to Rome, New York, you know they can get snow occasionally up there. But I'll tell you this, you mentioned the youth camps, and I was talking to the president of Child Evangelism Fellowship recently about reaching young people with the gospel. And the summer is just a unique time, a prime time. I met Jesus through a backyard Bible club in the summer, and I know that's a big part of a lot of people's experiences is Christian summer camping. But we live in a social media generation now, Steve. How are you able to continue to reach young people for Christ when there's all these digital distractions around them?
I think the best answer is you don't try to overwhelm it or negate it. You try to work around it. You have to be much more realistic about who your audience is, and that means you have to find ways to create an experience that is unique, that is not just a touch back to 100 years ago, but is realistic to where life is today. Now, for our youth camps, we actually require the kids to give up their cell phones. That may be a challenge to some, but we found that it's really beneficial for them to say, this is a place to get away from the pace of the world and to walk away from the normal things of home in order to create an abnormal place where God can talk to my heart.
Yeah. I wonder, Steve, how many of those kids at the end of that week of not having their cell phone say, boy, that was a bad idea. I bet you not many, do they?
Not many. And you know something? Public schools are finding the same thing has to be true. We live in an AI world. That's the reality out there, but that doesn't mean that has to be what we're doing in here.
Yeah. Steve Clark is our guest today, director of Delta Lake Bible Conference Center in Rome, New York. And Steve, your son, my college roommate, convinced me to come up to Rome, New York, and God introduced me to my wife there, and it's where I rededicated my life to Christ, right at the altar in the youth tab. So Delta Lake is a very special place in my heart. But for those listeners who are hearing this for the first time and don't know anything about Delta Lake, what do you want them to know about this unique Christian camping experience that has existed for over a century there in Rome, New York?
We were created as a means of expanding camp meeting ministry in a movement that was missions-oriented, deeper spiritual life-oriented 100 years ago. We may have changed the way we do programs. We may have expanded the kinds of programs, but we haven't changed our message or adjusted our emphasis. Our mission remains the same, and that is welcoming guests to encounter Jesus. I think that it's having touchstones that are clear to your core, that are important if you're going to carry it forward. It's not trying to adjust the central message. It's trying to flex in a way that helps people live in today's society while they are encountering the one who is timeless and changeless.
That is Steve Clark, director of the Delta Lake Christian Conference Center in Rome, New York, for this week's edition of Missions Pulse. Mondays during the Noon Report, we spotlight ministries that are making a difference where you live, across the country, and around the world. You can subscribe, listen to, and share Missions Pulse along with all our original podcasts at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or our website, familylife.org.
Good afternoon. Here is your Family Life regional weather forecast, tracking a couple of weather systems today. One, the remnants of Tropical Storm Chantal heading from Virginia northeastbound, and a cold front that's draped across the Midwest that is eastbound, and the result will be the squeezing out in this humid air of a few scattered showers and storms. The call for this afternoon, very warm and humid, clouds and some sunshine. A couple of showers and thunderstorms will be in the area this afternoon into tonight. Any thunderstorm will have the potential of producing, on a localized basis, drenching downpours and gusty winds. High today, 80s to near 90, lows tonight in the 60s. Tomorrow, not as warm, turning a bit less humid. Clouds will give way to some sun. Still a couple of showers and rumbles across parts of central and eastern Pennsylvania. High temperatures, 70s across New York, 80s in Pennsylvania. And some sunshine Wednesday, high temperatures in the low to mid 80s.
All right, thank you very much, Kevin. Finally, at noon, there's good news for the not-so-chiseled men among us. Dad bods are in, apparently, according to a study by the Chinese Academy of Scientists. That softer, doughy physique is the body type that women find most attractive in men. Other studies have come to similar conclusions. In fact, a recent survey by Planet Fitness found 7 in 10 women prefer a dad bod over a chiseled physique. Wikipedia describes a dad bod as somewhere between being muscular and overweight. And that's our world, the world we live in. Monday, the 7th of July. I'm Bob Price, Family Life News.
You've been listening to the Noon Report, heard weekdays on Family Life. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.